Thank you very much, Randy. Let's go right to the phone lines. Talk to Keith in Reno, Nevada, listening on the web. Hi, Keith.
Hi, Hank. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Great. I'm going to ask you a question you probably answered a million times, but I've been studying Genesis a little bit, and I guess I'm what you would call a young Earth creationist. I mean, I do believe in the six-day creation event. I kind of want to get your opinion on starlight. You know, that the stars were placed in the heavens, that Adam and Eve could see them when they were created, and obviously, based on our technology and science today, that would take billions of years. I guess my question to you is, what is your opinion on starlight reaching Adam and Eve so they could actually see in the sky? Because I look at the first couple of chapters of Genesis, and I say the writers very specifically tried to convey the message of 6 days of creation, and it seems like they went out of their way to do so. Like they could have communicated a million different other ways if they didn't want to say it that way.
Well, I mean, a couple of things I would say about this. First of all, I do think that it is absolutely clear from Scripture that the readers of Genesis, in other words, the audience that Moses had, would have been able to discern the night sky in much the same way that we are able to discern the night sky today. There are differences, but in general, the night sky is very much the same. And certainly you find in the very first chapter of Genesis that God said, "Let there be lights in the expanse of the sky to separate the day from the night, and let them serve as signs to mark seasons and days and years." So I think that the night sky was available to Adam very much like it is available to us today. I don't hold the theory that God creates light in transit. I don't hold the theory that God creates things with the appearance of age, nor do I hold that Genesis 1 is meant to give you a chronology of creation. Rather, I think that Genesis chapter 1 is designed to give you a hierarchy of creation, culminating in the crowning jewel of God's creation, which is humankind, and that the purpose of associating what happened in creation with the paradigm of the week, I think, is very significant, because we are to remember God's creative prowess each day of the week. And ultimately, on the seventh day, we are to remember that in Jesus Christ we have our Sabbath rest, which is to say that Jesus Christ is the substance that fulfills all the types and shadows that have gone on before. So my sense is that when you say it could have been written in any number of different ways, when you look at Genesis or take some time to memorize some of Genesis, I think what really sticks out in your mind is that it is a mosaic masterpiece. In other words, Moses has codified Genesis in such a way that not only do you remember God's creative prowess, that it is imprinted on the tablet of your consciousness, but beyond that, that you can remember not only the history of creation, but you can remember primeval history in general, and then you can remember the patriarchs using the 10 fingers on your two hands. Primordial history on the one hand and the patriarchs on the other hand. So I think it's very significant that you take a look at how Genesis is constructed. And I do some of this to give people a clue as to what's going on if they haven't read through Genesis carefully with this in mind. I do this in my book, the Creation Answer book. I answer some of the most common and controversial questions about creation, and this is a very significant resource in that I would say how one views their origins ultimately determines how they live their life. I also think it's critical that we recognize that God's eternal power and divine nature are seen not only through Scripture, although we have special revelation given to us in Scripture, but also through the creation that he has made. And Paul is emphatic about that in Romans chapter 1, just as David is in Psalm chapter 19.